you can use in that situation is you call that number and ask, hey, I'm wanting to rent one of your properties. Because if they gave a random number, they'll be like, I don't have any properties.
And it's like a friend.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's a little trick
little
trade.
Little life hack. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Generation Ish. We got Daryl in the house. We got Dilly in the house, and we got Carlos in the house. And today we are going to be talking about property management. So we all own a few properties. We've all had some horror stories. We all have had some good stories too. We all have had good amount of experience with the property.
Say bad stories.
We've all had good experience, or an experience at least, with property management. We all have a good bunch of units under our belt, so we're kind of gonna explain our ways in how we manage our properties, because we all do it a little bit different ways than each other. I use a virtual assistant. Daryl's starting to use a property manager, but also still managing himself. And Carlos is starting to incorporate an in-house property manager and also working with his wife, Ro, to manage his own properties. But basically, so for property management-wise, what would you say are some key points when screening a possible tenant? What do you guys look for, income-wise, credit-wise, anything like that?
So, like, are you talking about, like, if we're doing it ourselves?
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, you got to take everything into effect now because you could have with COVID and everything, you could have a job, and then 30 days later, you don't have a job after you're done screening. So, you really have to do a total check.
I've screened people that made plenty of money, because usually my requirement for income is 3.5 times, right? So if they make 3.5 times or more, it's an automatic yes for the income part. Right? There's credit, there's a bunch of other things too, but for the income, that's good. I've had people that had, I think it was more like 6 times the income, but then 6 months later, they all of a sudden didn't have a job, and then they didn't pay rent for another 4 months. And we didn't only, like, that wasn't the only strong part for him, but life just started falling apart. But, like, that can happen, I feel like, for anybody.
So do you look for certain jobs that are more likely that they're going to keep, such as like government jobs or maybe like medical jobs where they can't really get fired from, or it's harder to get fired from?
No, so I don't in particular, because I have to be worried about fair housing, and I think we all worry about fair housing, right? So I'm not looking at that. I'm just looking to make sure that they check off certain boxes in my requirement. So in Richmond, I think it's 640 is our credit score, 660, something like that. Rocio knows better, but it's like 660, say, for example, the credit score that needs to be met. Anything higher than that, great, you're pretty much approved on that part. You need to make 3.5 times the income for rent. So, for example, on that, so for people doing math,
$1,500 a month.
Yeah, so like $1,000, just to make it easy, is $1,000 of rent. You need to be making $3,500 gross.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, so if you make $15 an hour, you multiply that times however many hours. If you make $4,000 gross before taxes a month, then you qualify for the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have that. We have credit score. We have we do verify like previous landlords. That's always a tricky one, right? Because like I can give a new landlord your phone number and you can just pretend.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
But I'm always looking to make sure that, I don't know, I do a little bit more background. I like private investigate the whole situation. I'm usually looking like who owns that phone number. Can I find out who owns that house through city records? Does that connect? I mean, I'm usually looking into a little bit more, especially if like it's a little shaky. So it's that.
So a little trick that you can use in that situation is you call that number and ask, hey, I'm wanting to rent one of your properties. Because if they gave a random number, they'll be like, I don't have any properties.
And it's like a friend.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
that's a little trick trade.
Little life hack. So what about you, Daryl? Do you look kind of similar to Carlos, or anything
very
changes?
Similar. I think one thing I've started to do that I learned in this class we took just recently is to go to that house that they're staying in now to kind of see how they live.
Yeah.
I haven't actually got to do that yet, but I have one coming up that I'm on doing that. And go check out where they live and see how they live and see if that qualifies. Because, of course, if they're living like trash, guess what? They're probably going to trash your house.
Yeah.
So if they're living a clean lifestyle in the house that they currently live in, then probably they're going to take care of your house.
Yeah.
So I haven't implemented it yet, but that's kind of a new strategy that I heard at one of our meetings to where I'm going to try and implement it now.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And I've heard some people even do that. So there's a Dr. something in Bigger Pockets, but he does that with Section 8 tenants.
Ooh, I like that.
So like,
I know.
So he goes and he checks those before he gives them, but he also gives them like a fully renovated, beautiful like DC home. And it's fair. He wants to
ensure that it's going to be nice.
According to him, he tries to find the Nordstrom version of the Section 8 tenants. That's right? Cool. So somebody who's going to be okay with people walking through, somebody who's going to like go through, I don't want to call it hazing, but like going through his process, which is pretty extensive.
Yeah.
Fill out this is a questionnaire, and then eventually you fill out the application. So like a good person is going to go all the way through with everything.
Yes.
What about you? What do you do?
So similar to you, we look for 3 times income, 620 plus credit score, but we also look at their debt and all their collections because they can have a decent credit score, but they have like 40,000 in medical bills, 40,000 in student loans that they're paying a lot of money on as well. So you got to make sure that income can surpass their monthly payments for that large amount of debt on top of the rent.
Yeah.
So that is something that to factor in a little, that we factor in a little bit if there's a bunch of debt on their record.
Yeah.
Especially big. Sometimes they're like 100,000, like lawyer fees or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, did you teach your virtual assistant how to vet these tenants?
Yeah. So first off, I have a virtual assistant that does the vetting for me. He's in India. And he actually receives all the phone calls from all the tenants. Nice. And so I taught him how to do all that. So now he receives the tenant phone calls. He does the application all online. He does the showings all virtual. So not virtual showings, but he gives them a lockbox code, electronic lockbox. And the tenant goes in. And so basically I'm completely out of it to that point. Once the application comes in, he looks at it. And if he thinks they're a good tenant, he then calls me and says, hey, this is a pretty good application. I log on my computer, look at it, and I say, if it's not that bad, then I'll say, yeah, sure. But if it is kind of shaky, he'll ask for 2 months rent deposit.
Okay.
And
so you're
before you review it, he gives them the code to go check out the house.
Exactly. But he gets their ID.
Okay, so he does get an ID.
He gets a picture of their ID, and then they give him a lockbox code. Okay. We tell him we change the lockbox every night. We don't, but we tell them that.
So if you're a potential tenant, it's the same code. You can break it.
But so they go in with their ID, and then we haven't had any problems yet. It has saved me a ton of time not going showing and everything.
So one thing that we've started to do for the first house ever is that we'll be super aggressive and have people apply.
Yes.
And we'll run their credit, we'll run their background, we'll run everything.
So apply before they see.
Before you even see the house.
Yes.
Dude, that's crazy.
We thoroughly vet them. And, I mean, we probably vetted like 4 people.
Before they saw it.
Before they even saw the house.
They paid an application fee.
Everything. We ran their credit before. And, mind you, some of them were very resistant about it, but we had to put them at ease and talk to them.
Yeah.
Like, we come correct, so, like, we don't have any issues doing that, right? So, but 3 people like vetted themselves out
because
credit,
they didn't want
whatever.
to
They didn't want to do it, whatever.
All that stuff.
And then just one person got left, but that one person, like I was saying before, through the whole process was correct, and then now they have that house.
So the 3 people that you denied looking at the house, they didn't even see the house then.
They didn't even see the house.
Okay.
They didn't see the house. But they qualified for income, but they didn't qualify for credit, or they qualified credit and income, but they had something on their background where they were like a felon or something like that. So there are some requirements for us.
Yeah.
Where if you're a felon, it has to be a violent felony.
Okay. Right.
So,
same with me.
Yeah. So,
about weed.
That's fine.
Yeah.
No, but like, we just don't want any of our maintenance people coming in.
Of course.
And there's a possibility that you're going to trigger them, and then all of a sudden they're going to like flip out.
Blow up.
Yeah. So like, so that's something that we get worried about. But that's cool. That's smart, but you have to have the threshold.
Yeah.
So like, be like, here's my VA, and they're gonna take care. But because that is super time consuming.
Oh, very.
To like show it.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's probably the most time-consuming part.
Yeah.
So in the future, are you going to go that route where they pre-apply and then you have to accept them and then they have to look at it and want it?
I think we're only doing that now because the market is
so
crazy,
so
hot with tenants that people are like desperate to find a place, and that way you kind of weed out the ones that aren't so hot, and you can pick the best of the tenants.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I mean,
it weeds out the not so serious ones because they're not going to pay that $25 or whatever your application fee is, and to run all that information before they even see the property.
Honestly, I probably wouldn't. So
I probably wouldn't either, but that'd be weeding out a good tenant then, because you would be a good tenant, right?
It's true.
Correct.
Yeah, but it also sets the stage for how malleable you are as a tenant, right? So like if I put certain demands on you and you do them, like you living in my house, we can have an agreement because you obviously are going to follow my directions.
Yes.
Right? Like this is what I need from you.
This
are
is
you
what I
comply?
expect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to do it. Right? So it does kind of set the tone.
So that tenant, they like the house and they're just moved in. They didn't ask any.
They like the house. They did ask for us to put a shed, like a small little like shed, so that they can put a lawnmower. But we're gonna put that in. We're collecting first month's rent. They already gave us security deposit, but first month's rent on Friday, and they're moving in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, what if they come in and they said they didn't like the property?
No, they've already seen it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now they've already seen it. Once they've submitted everything.
Yeah.
Then we go and meet them at the property. They go through, and I think we give them like a day or two to consider it, and then we meet them again, security deposit, and we're done.
Nice. Now, would you put them kind of in your files if, say, they went out there and they didn't like that house, it didn't meet their needs? Would you throw them as a good tenant in your file for your next house coming up, and then you can kind of do it that way? Or?
Maybe, but I mean, I also don't like the idea of like pursuing tenants.
Correct.
I'd rather a tenant pursue me, right? As a landlord, I'd rather be known as the landlord that has good properties, who manages his properties well, and things are always fixed and repaired.
Go to this guy.
Yeah, and people come to me, then like, do you want to live in my house? Do you want to live in my house? Because again, you're kind of putting yourself in a submissive position.
Yeah.
But to Daryl's point, if you had another house available, you would let them see that one.
Yeah. If I have two houses available, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So your question, to answer your question, yes. If I had two houses available, and I have had that happen, but it was never you applied and everything was
right.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So if they don't like the house, they're just shit out of their they're trapped out of their application fee.
Yeah. It's a risk.
That's the cost of doing business.
You really need a place to stay, and we're gonna provide you with good service. If you like it, great. We did video walkthroughs. We did pictures. We did plenty of pictures, and we sent them all to the person. They got backyard. They got sides. They got street views. They got all that. So you're not being surprised. We're not trying to hide anything from you. Everything's on the table. So if you're going to submit an application,
apartment complex, you go on the apartment complex website.
On the website,
you go and apply. That doesn't mean you're getting an apartment this month or next month.
Yeah,
it's when the next availability is. So therefore, you're waiting for someone to move out for you to move right back in. And a lot of times they don't even let you really pick which ones you want. They're just kind of like, look, you want a 2-bed 1-bath or a 3-bed 1-bath, and you don't pick the layout. Even though all of them have different layouts, you don't get to pick.
Everyone comes available. First come, first serve.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing for maintenance? Like, are you guys keeping a separate maintenance account? Are you guys like withholding some of that rent that comes in and just like?
So you're talking about like after they moved out?
After they've moved in? No, like moved in. So not even a turn.
Okay.
Right? Not even a turn, but like
for capital expenditures, HVAC, roofs,
capital expenditures,
repairs,
maintenance, filters, like anything. How are you guys managing that?
So I typically put 10% of whatever the rent is into a separate account, waiting for that stuff to happen, because it's bound to happen eventually. And then if it does, I'm fixing it as it comes. Usually with all of my rentals, I fix everything before I put you in there. So everything from the roof, the windows, the doors, the HVAC, all that's practically brand new, unless you're getting one of my turnovers in the next year or 2 years, so forth. When I buy that house, I'm fixing everything.
Everything.
So that way I don't have that for 10 years is what I'm hoping.
And you have all that 10% in the same account for every single house that you own.
Correct.
So
I
you
have
one account.
I have, a checking and a savings for that one account, and I'll throw all of that
for
10%
that one house.
for that one
checking
house.
and savings for that one house.
And I'll throw that 10% in the savings account, just saving it for a rainy day fund, and then the other I'll transfer into my cash flow account for each house, and then pay the mortgage, all of that as well.
So you have, depending on how many units you have that many bank accounts.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, and now I've started to, because you can have that many bank accounts in the same LLC, so you can just have 2 checking accounts with the same LLC.
We got a snake.
Do it. Down. Stop. Okay. You can have as many bank accounts as you want within that LLC.
Yeah.
But
so
you're
I'll
having
just
one
have
bank
it.
account.
I'll have one for each account. It just helps me keep everything separate, so that mortgage comes out of that account, and then another mortgage comes out of this account. Yeah. So I'm not commingling everything, and then it helps me keep a better spreadsheet, so I can keep a little more organized. Yeah. Certain people, they'll just have it all go into one. Yeah. All the money comes out, and then whatever they're left with is their cash flow. Yeah. I like to know individual cash flow.
Yeah. What are you doing?
So for me, I'm that certain person that commingles like all my funds into one. I just make sure I have about 9 months of mortgage reserves for all my properties. So if I have like a total of $5,000 that I have to pay in mortgages, I try to make sure I have 45,000 times 5 in a bank account. Whether that be, but all in the same bank account. The profit and losses I just track with QuickBooks, my accounting, so I don't really care to keep it separate.
Yeah. So I'm that certain person. So I commingle all my accounts.
Gotcha.
And then I have a separate Excel where I have all my P&Ls of every single individual house. Oh, okay. So anything that gets expensed, so I see my income. So I have, I'll plug in all my rental income for each individual house. All of that comes together, so I know how much that sum is, and then I'll have, again, for each individual house, all of my expenses.
Gotcha.
And I break it down to interest, to principal pay down, to escrow, to repairs and maintenance, to lawn care, everything gets broken down, and then it gives me the grand total of what my expense was for that house, and then whatever my net cash flow was at the very bottom. That's cool. And then all of that gets added up, so then I see what my cash flow is. So it's really easy at a glance. I can look to see what my 2021 cash flow was for each individual house, what my expenses were, what my maintenance cost was for each individual house. That's cool. And then it all kind of comes together for my income as a whole, for my expenses as a whole, for my lawn care, for everything as a whole for 2021. So I bring all of that to page 1, sheet 1 of my Excel. So I don't do it on Excel. I have my accountant just kind of review, and I send them all those for every single house so that they have it. Yeah. Because when you're filling out when they're filling out your return, they do kind of break down what all those expenses are. Marketing and maintenance.
It's every pay,
every single house. So I just kind of pre-do that for her.
Yeah, me too. That's how I send it, and then they just literally take it and plug it into the tax return. Yeah.
But I like to do that because then I can see each individual month.
Know your numbers.
Each individual year, each individual everything. And some of them don't do so well, some of them do. No. But that's just how I keep it. But it's because that's how we property manage in-house fully. Right?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So it helps you easily keep everything under one umbrella and keep everything organized and everything like that. Yeah. Now, how are you accepting payments? How are y'all accepting your rent payments per month? Certain ways or different ways or?
So we use Cozy. It's 3 different kinds. Yeah, so Cozy doesn't exist anymore. Now it's Apartmentscom. Yeah. Because Cozy got bought out by CoStar, and CoStar owns Apartmentscom. So everything got switched into Apartmentscom. It's pretty easy and it's free. Yep. So I would say that for a new investor,
that's the easiest.
Just do that. Apartments.com, quick, easy. You can upload pictures. It'll put things on Facebook. It'll put things on Zillow. Put things in different places so you can promote it. All right, so we did that, but then we're trying to transition everything over. I don't know why we have. I think we have Cozy because some of those are under our personal name. Okay. So everything under our business is under Buildingium.
Okay, under Buildingium. Yeah. And you bill everything through Buildingium?
Everything is through
direct deposit it straight into your...
Everything. So everything is through Buildingium. We have whatever accounts we want them to go to. Yep. And then Buildingium just collects and they deposit into our accounts. Okay. Anything that we want to upbill because of lawn care, because of something that they ruined that I need to back bill.
Yep.
Like I can just add it to Buildium, and it's so much more professional. They can put in their maintenance requests. They can. It's almost like a Yardi. It's almost like a proper property management company, but it's. I think we pay like $100 a month or something to like keep everything professional in one place.
Nice.
And then we also do
Cash App.
Yeah, we.
You do Cash App?
It's not Cash App, but we do
Venmo
Zelle.
or
Before we
Zelle.
used to do checks and money orders, but
So
now
you don't
they
do any
Zelle.
more checks or money orders.
No, they do Zelle now, so I don't go down anymore.
Nice.
Yeah.
You don't have to go pick
Dude,
it up.
it
no
took
more.
a while because I do have a couple properties, three properties that are in Maryland, so it's like 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And I was for one of my tenants, I was still making that trip on a monthly basis to go collect rent. But no,
His excuse was,
Did you charge
I like seeing the house.
Yeah.
That was his excuse.
I was like, my parents live close by. No, but we
Charge
transferred
gas.
over. We transferred over.
Like
Yeah, it was like
$5 a
$100 to
gallon
get
now.
down there, man. No. So now we sell it. But yeah, so that's how we collect. How are you collecting?
For me, I use Buildium as well.
Buildium.
And it's cool because you can print out these barcode. I don't know if you do know this, but you can print out this barcode where it's called a Pay Near Me. Where they can go to 7-Eleven, assuming they don't have online payments or something, whatever. Most of my tenants do now, but they go to 7-Eleven, give the clerk like $600 cash. The clerk scans the barcode, and it goes into your account.
That's cool.
So it's at like 4 places, like Family Dollar, 7-Eleven. It's more for the lower income areas.
Oh, that's pretty good.
If they don't have like a bank account or online access,
Yeah.
we do that.
That's cool.
What about you?
Yeah, so I'm completely different from both of you guys. I do deposit cards. So what that is like you can set it up. Most banks have it. I use Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
And you actually give the tenant a deposit card. Each tenant has their own little deposit card. It looks like a debit card. And they go to any branch or any ATM, Wells Fargo ATM or branch, swipe their card, put in a check or cash, and it goes straight into my account.
All right. So when you go to the bank and you ask for that,
Yes.
you're asking for
A deposit card.
deposit card. I need
Yes.
15 deposit cards.
I need 4 deposit cards. I need one
And
for
it has
this.
their name on it?
Which bank?
No, so it doesn't have any of my information at all.
No.
All it has,
Or the tenant?
it has the address, and then it says tenant on it, and that's it.
The tenant's
And-
name, so you know which tenant it's coming from, right?
So all the cards have certain numbers,
Uh.
and the 4 numbers in the deposit card is what pops up into my account, and each one of mine are set up on different bank accounts. So
Yeah,
when
so
you
you know,
deposit
you know.
for Maurer Lane, it goes into the Maurer Lane account.
Right.
I don't have to guess who deposited that into there. So, and it allows them to pay at different times of the month. So some of my tenants want to pay twice a month. So it allows them to put in half of it on the 15th, the other half on the 30th. And then for some, they do it weekly. Every week they get a check, they go put $200 in or $300 in, and it allows them to pay periodically through the month. So it makes it easier on them.
And what
And that's
bank
how
is
I've
this?
done it.
Wells Fargo.
Wells
Oh, Wells Fargo.
Yeah. And all of them have deposit cards to where they just go in and deposit their
Yeah.
cash or check every single time. And they can actually set it up on direct bill pay to my account as well. So they'll set up direct bill pay on from their bank, and it'll come straight into my account every time through that deposit card.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
so it's a little more work. I think the bigger I scale, I'll probably have to switch to something like what y'all are using. It might be easier. But when I first started, this was kind of an easy transition for me going from no rental properties to having rental properties. It was easy. Now, as I've grown, it's gotten a little more complicated, but it still works as of right now. I'll probably be switching here soon, but
wow.
Yeah, the Buildium one, I mean, it's not only Buildium. There's Appfolio.
Oh, there's a bunch
There's a
of
couple of
them.
others that are pretty good.
I wouldn't get that Buildium or any of those until you have at least like 15 to 20 units.
And so that's the reason I didn't get Buildium is I didn't have that many units. When I first started, I had 6 units. So the deposit cards work perfect.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is you can set their telephone number, the last 4 of their telephone, as their PIN. So they never forget their card number or any of that. And bam, you go to the ATM, you swipe your card, put your PIN, here's your $400, goes straight into my account.
Yeah.
That's
That's the way
good.
to do it.
Yeah.
All right, so before we wrap this up, I'm going to put the boys on the spot. One tip for any new property manager or someone with rental properties if they're just getting started.
I would say get your systems in order. You don't have to perfect them, but get them in order to where it makes your transition from 0 rentals to 1 rental a little easier, and have something, you don't have to have Buildingium or any of that set up, but just have an easier way to where you don't have to be fully involved. Because your goal for a rental property is to not be involved. Mailbox money. I want to make money while I sleep. So have a little system set up and listen to a couple videos, and they can get you set up from 0 to 1.
Yeah. I guess for me, be thorough and consistent with your vetting.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, don't get, and we've all been offered cash.
Yeah, all the time.
We've all been offered cash. We'll have a property on the market.
I got 6 months cash up front right now.
Yeah, and then you get all glossy eyed because they're gonna give you $7,500 for 6 months, and it's like, and you start figuring out ways on how to spend it, right? But like, that's really scary because you don't know where that money's coming from. That's probably a one-time payout for something that they've done, a paycheck, whatever, and then they're just gonna coast. So I'd be really weary about anybody that's too aggressive about finding a place. Yeah. Like, last-minute tenants, too aggressive in all cash are recipes. Those are flags for something's going on. They're probably being evicted. They're probably getting kicked out. They got some sort of last-time cash-out, payout, whatever, and now they're just like looking to settle in and then just squat somewhere.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I would say be strict on your tenants. If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So if they're late on rent, charge that late fee. Otherwise, they're gonna get used to just being late on rent every time.
Yep.
Or if they ask for a huge upgrade to the property and you do it, they're gonna keep asking every month for another huge upgrade. And I've noticed that too. And then it's just like, we can't do this, and then they get really pissed off. And it's just be careful how you treat them and make sure you're sturdy on your rules from the beginning.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Just a tap, gentle tap, tap. But anyways, that's how we do it. Generation H!